Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs to society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm RickTrader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Right, Dr. Nasir Shaikh. And with that, Nasir, we do have our first guest of the day with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Thanks, Rick. I certainly will. We have Adam Andrzejewski. He's the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. It's the world's largest private database for government spending. He's also a senior contributor at Forbes Opinion, and he's been a frequent radio and TV opinion commentator. Adam, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, great to be on the program. We believe that the transparency revolution, the open government movement, is revolutionizing United States public policy and politics.
Well, amazing. Wonderful. And we're going to be talking about, like you said, the healthcare transparency. Give us sort of an idea as to when did you form this? Why did you form it? Who are sort of some people that are sort of helping you? Was this something that you had been thinking about for some time? Give us a sense of how this sort of came about.
Well, I'm a private sector entrepreneur, and in 2007, I sold my Yellow Page publishing company, and 1 year before Steve Jobs invented the iPhone. And so then I looked around for an issue that would have make an impact. And we settled on the issue of transparency, because you cannot solve problems that you cannot see. And at every level, federal, state, and local across this entire country, we believe that if you put every dime online in real time, you'll get better policy outcomes. You'll get better public policy debate. News articles in the nation's leading newspapers will contain better information, it'd be more interesting to read, and make a bigger impact on the political class than if you didn't have that data. And so today, we've actually built the world's largest database of public sector expenditures. Our tagline slogan is every dime online in real time, and we have a constitutional basis. It's Article 1, Section 9, Sections 9, Clause 7 of the Constitution, and it says that a regular statement and account of the receipts and expenditures of all public monies shall be published from time to time. And so we're executing on that. Last year we filed 60,000 Freedom of Information Act requests, and we've compiled a database of about 85 cents on every dollar taxed and spent at every level of government across the whole country.
So you and Tom Fitton must be blood brothers, basically.
And actually, former U.S. Senator Dr. Tom Coburn, he is our honorary chairman, and many people will remember his fearless leadership on transparency and accountability in the United States Senate. Time magazine in 2013 chose Dr. Coburn as one of the 100 most influential persons in the world.
Adam, one of the things when we talk about transparency is that why is it, for example, that when you talk to some physicians or you talk with people in the healthcare industry and you say that doctors who try to utilize transparent pricing within their practice, some of them have basically think that it's illegal or it's against insurance policies, but there are physicians out there. Are you familiar with the physician out in Kansas City by the name of Dr. Josh Umber, who's Atlas MD, and what he basically does is he charges people $50 a month for an adult from, I think, the age of 45 to 55. Then if you're above the age of 65, it's $75 a month. If you're 80 years and above, it's like $100 a month. Any child up to the age of 18 is only $10 a month. They don't charge you for any x-rays or EKGs. It's all part of the package. You pay the cost for x-rays. I think they're $5 an x-ray. Medical prescription costs are like 90% off of prescriptions. And they're doing it. Now, he got pushback from the Kansas City Medical Board and everything. But is it state to state, or is it some states more heavily regulated? He's being very transparent. Why can't that type of a program, go nationwide.
Well, I think, the reason that we're pushing at openthebooks.com to open the books on healthcare pricing at every level in this country is because it's super expensive in the United States of America on healthcare. We pay twice as much than anybody else on an annual basis for healthcare charges. That's $3.5 trillion a year that roll back on we the people and the employers in this country. So who's profiting? And basically you have a situation where very large healthcare groups are profiting and the insurance industry. And we the people without, by and large, without access to what we have to purchase, we don't get to see the prices. And could you imagine if you were going to the grocery store, loaded up your cart, and you didn't know the price of any single item in the cart? But that's the way we buy healthcare. So there is not perfect pricing in this country. If there was perfect pricing, people would be on par with the providers. What you have is information asymmetry, and that creates power imbalances. And right now, we're pushing for transparency to get some power back to the patient, some power back to the people to be able to negotiate lower healthcare costs.
Exactly. I mean, like you said, why can't I call up a practice or whatever and say, listen, I need to get an x-ray or an EKG. How much are you going to charge? And we do that with everything, basically. We call and we find out.
So, Doctor, you're probably well aware, these insurance contracts with these major providers, they'll get deep discounts, 40 to 60% off the shelf rate list price of services. Whereas if you walk in with cash, the insurance contract would limit your discount to 10 or 20%. That kind of situation is not fair. When you open the books on this entire situation and providers have to disclose exactly what patients are actually paying, then there'll be a transfer of power and competition in the marketplace to further reduce prices.
Now, we always talk about this. Everybody says every election cycle, the candidates stand up there and they go, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and trim the fat. I'm going to go ahead and find the Medicare, and I'll find a couple of $1 trillion that we can utilize to, do whatever we need to do with. So give us an idea here, sir. Explain the amount of fraud that is in the healthcare market in terms of dollars that, people can understand.
So our honorary chairman, Dr. Tom Coburn, he delivered 4,000 babies before he went to the United States Congress. He just went on Fox and Friends last week and said that there's $150 billion in the system of waste, fraud, corruption, and taxpayer abuse. And I want to put some specific examples to that. You probably remember as one of the reasons in the year 2012, when Democrats passed the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, they said that they'll pay for large portions of Obamacare through reducing the waste, fraud, corruption, and abuse in Medicaid and Medicare. Right. And it never happened. Health and Human Services admits that in 2012, there was a stunning $64 billion worth of improper payments on Medicare and Medicaid payments that year. $64 billion. Today, that number is $85 billion. Not only didn't rein it in, but it is worse today than ever before. I mean, you've got $1 billion last year that was paid out on Medicaid and Medicare to dead people. You've got physicians that have lost their license to practice medicine that are still receiving federal payments on Medicaid and Medicare.
Is there any way to really clean this up? I mean, are we ever going to get to, every time people talk about it, do you really feel, if you shine the light on it, is that the only way the disinfectant is going to basically be, that to shine the light on it and then someone's going to say, stop?
So here's what we know. You cannot fix a problem that you cannot see. Now, I want to relate a situation on what we can see. Our team of auditors, about 3 weeks from today, is going to release a report on the top 100 public charities. These are the nonprofit, very large healthcare providers in this country. And here's one of them in my own backyard here in Illinois, Advocate Healthcare. They've got $8.5 billion worth of assets. Last year, their asset base went up by $1 billion. And you and I, the patient, we don't get to see the prices on what they're charging. These are public charities. Their CEO last year made $12 million. And again, we don't get to see the prices on what they're charging us on healthcare costs. I think it's grossly unfair. Now, here's a good point. There's progress. We are hearing that the Trump administration is going to mandate by some type of executive order, some type of executive mandate, real healthcare price transparency. Our report, we're either going to backstop an order that's already been issued or help galvanize public support behind such a policy.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are talking about healthcare transparency with Adam Andrzejewski. Adam Andrzejewski. How did I do that? Did I do okay, Adam?
You did. It's a complicated name.
And I'm RickTrader. My co-host today is Dr. Nasir Shaikh, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Don't go away. We will be.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes. Now, people say, why didn't you report it to the authorities? Well, they were the ones doing it.
The integrity of one man, one vote doesn't apply at the Texas state legislature. There is no way to know if your representatives are voting for themselves.
Department, a Republican, reaches back to vote for Democrat Oliveira. Democrat Matt Reynolds votes for Republican England.
2 out of 3 voters nationwide believe that voter fraud is a serious problem in the U.S. today.
The process is rigged.
Both sides of the aisle are guilty.
Florida now has to tell the Department of Justice whether the state will comply with DOJ's demand to stop purging thousands of people from its voter rolls.
We have the sloppiest election system of any industrialized democracy.
Philadelphia flagged 50,000 duplicate registrations, so just think how many more slipped through.
It's almost impossible to detect. How do you get caught? You only get caught if you confess.
Election corruption is deeply embedded in America. Quote, election fraud is a crime that usually pays, unquote, writes Tracy Campbell in his book, Deliver the Vote, A History of Election Fraud, an American political tradition from 1742 to 2004. In 1742, the first Prime Minister of Britain in the American colonies, Robert Walpole, was forced to resign.
We have a right not to have our vote canceled out by someone who shouldn't be voting, someone who's an illegal alien, someone who's a felon not eligible to vote, someone who doesn't exist. If they vote, they cancel your vote out as much as if you're prevented from voting.
If this is going to be fixed, it's going to have to be a citizen effort. It comes down to, it's the same old question, if not now, when? If not us, then who?
This is huge. This is about the democracy and the principles of the United States of America. People say, but why you? Why you? Why? Well, why not? And if it starts with a fireman, if it starts with a sanitation worker, if it starts with a teacher or a nurse or a caretaker of the elderly, then so be it. It's got to start somewhere. But it's time we come together and fix this problem once and for all.
There is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
Serious allegations of voter fraud, the claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
I saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right to vote. It's too brutal.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir, Shaikh, and yours truly, RickTrader. And we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. If you have a comment or suggestion or want to contact me, or if you have a suggestion for a guest, you can always email me at rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. That's Rick at conservativecommandosradioshow.com. And we're talking about healthcare transparency with Adam Andrzejewski. He's the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. Adam, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Well, it's great to be on the program. We think that there's probably 85 to 90% popular support to open the books on healthcare pricing in this country. Everybody wants to know how much it costs because at the end of the day, you and I, we're all paying for it and paying dearly for it.
Adam, when you talk about healthcare transparency, what does that include? Where do you look? Doctors, hospitals, where do you take this when you talk about healthcare transparency and putting a spotlight on it?
Well, it's a great question because, and I want to tell you why. The price transparency has to go on what people are actually paying. And that's why it has to start with the providers. And the Trump administration, we think that there is a lot of momentum to open the books, to come up with an administrative rule that would force healthcare providers to open the books on the prices being paid for by patients. That's the critical thing. On January 1st this year, hospitals were required to disclose list prices on their website. Here's the problem, and I'm going to use a car analogy. You've got a manufacturer's suggested retail price with a car, and nobody pays that. That's equivalent to the list price that's now on hospital websites. But if you shop for a car, the MSRP helps you because most people pay between 90 cents and 99 cents on the dollar to MSRP. That's not the case with the list price of a hospital. Insurance providers are able to negotiate prices at 34 cents on the dollar. Mm-hmm. So right now you've got hospitals posting list prices on their website that nobody is even coming close to paying. So it's useless information.
Adam, when you talk about OpenTheBooks.com and putting a spotlight on waste, fraud, and abuse of healthcare and government, I think that this probably scares the hell out of politicians if they really think that people are going to do that, really think the general public is going to do that, because I believe they know how much there is. And as you say, every election, we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and with all these savings, we're going to do this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other always gets paid with more taxes. Am I right? And so what's the solution?
You're right. And there is a legalized money laundering scheme in Washington, D.C. I'm not breaking news on your program tonight. At OpenTheBooks.com, we just took a look at Fortune 100 companies. And in the top 10, there are 4 healthcare providers. The other 6 in the top 10 are actually providers to the defense industry. But healthcare providers, they have a significant seat at the table. They're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on lobbying Capitol Hill. The Fortune 100 collectively spent $2 billion over a 4-year period on lobbying these politicians. And they use this in a heavily government-regulated industry like healthcare or education or defense to fence out smaller and medium-sized competitors. So these large healthcare providers, with the insurance companies, with the politicians, the institutional force is not to release the prices, to empower regular people to make their own decisions. Thank God the Trump administration on their own is battling the entrenched institutional power, and hopefully will institute this rule to open the prices to empower we the people.
Last week, U.S. Senators Lamar Alexander and Patty Murray introduced a draft legislation package that aims to lower health care costs by ending surprise medical billing, enhancing transparency of pricing for health care services, and lower prescription drug costs. Adam, we hear this all the time. You know, is this just more words coming out of Washington, or is anything, you expect anything to change?
So I do expect things to change, and here's why. The current system is completely unsustainable. I mean, just think about this. Last year, there was a study done in 2018, and the average family across America pays $20,000 in terms of healthcare costs every single year. You just cannot pay that amount of money as a regular American before the system starts to break down. This is a heavy cost and weight on private enterprise in this country, on the economy, on job growth. Something has to give. What you just referenced was bipartisan legislation in the United States Senate that would create healthcare price transparency and that would bring reforms to other parts of the system. This is a necessary first step.
Right. Adam, what about shopping for a doctor? You know, I'm a big believer that we need to be our own advocate when it comes to health care. How would you advise someone to shop for a doctor? I mean, it's tough to get a hold of a doctor these days. I've been through this. I really don't have a private doctor right now. I go through one of these minute clinic things. But what advice would you have for somebody who wanted to shop for their own doctor?
So 62% of Americans, I believe, are in employer-sponsored plans. Yeah. Now, 40% of those people have high deductibles, so they still would benefit from healthcare price transparency because, they're paying out of pocket for these services. So to answer your question, most people depend on the insurance companies to negotiate the best deal for them. However, with 40% of people paying these high deductible employer-based insurance packages, all of us in that circumstance would also benefit from healthcare price transparency.
Adam, what do you feel about healthcare sharing ministries?
Well, I think it's a great option. Look, I've got 5 sisters. I was the oldest of 7 kids. And many of my sisters and their families she's a real saint. And my sisters use these healthcare ministries. They've had a fantastic experience with them. They do try to shop on healthcare price, and the providers that serve these ministries are much more open than regular providers with their pricing structures.
Adam, I hate to be pessimistic, and has down here, Obamacare was a huge push to expand Medicare and to try to take over what is left of the private healthcare industry. I really do believe that the only way to shed a lot of this is you got to get government out of the healthcare business. Do you ever see that as ever going to be a possibility?
Well, I think we have to take strides to limit the government's role in the healthcare industry. And obviously, there was a massive takeover of the industry in 2012 with the passage of Obamacare. And what has happened to the price of healthcare? We were promised that it was going to go lower, and it has just spiraled out of control into crisis. So I think the lesson learned is to limit government as much as possible. I think you have to take steps in that regard, and that's why it's critical that we all encourage the administration and the President Trump, to issue that order to open the prices, the actual prices people pay for healthcare, so we can actually see what's going on.
Adam Andrzejewski, founder and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com. We want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Please tell our audience how they could follow you, anything you write. Check out OpenTheBooks.com. How would they do that?
So just come to OpenTheBooks.com, click on our interactive map on the homepage, and search the public employees' salaries right in your own backyard. We've got virtually every single public employee's salary record from every level of government in the entire country online. And I think that would be about the best way to interact with the audience.
I love it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to check out these guys.
They're making a lot of money.
I don't even want to think. Don't even want to think about it. Maybe instead of being in the Yellow Pages business or the doctor business or radio talk show host, I don't know, maybe we missed our calling and should have went into government.
Well, we've got 22 million records. The number one record was the football coach in Alabama, Nick Saban, and he lost the national championship. He made $12 million last year.
Oh, wow. All right. Football coach would be another one. Adam Andrzejewski, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
God bless you.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir, Shaikh, and yours truly, RickTrader. Our next guest is going to be Benjamin Friedman, and we're going to be talking about the U.S. military withdrawal, disentangling from the Syrian civil war. Don't go away. We'll be right back with our next guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And thank you for staying with us. This is a Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir, Shaikh, and yours truly, RickTrader. For rebroadcast, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our radio show, our TV show there, a lot of terrific articles and a lot of great information. And with that, Nasir, our next guest is with us. Please welcome him to the show.
Thanks, Rick. We have Benjamin Friedman. He's a policy director at defensepriorities.org. He's also an adjunct lecturer at the George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. He's previously done work as a defense analyst at the Cato Institute, researcher at the Center for Defense Information, edited 3 books on defense policy and strategy, published many, many academic essays in international security, political science quarterly, foreign affairs, world affairs, op-eds, many outlets, including the New York Times, LA Times, USA Today, Politico, you name the outlet, he's done the op-ed. Benjamin, welcome to the Conserve Commandos radio show.
Thanks for having me on. It's good to be on.
Well, great. Well, we wanted to talk to you about the article that you had written about U.S. with military withdrawal, disentangling from Syria's civil war. But before we get to that, can you give us an idea to our audience, those that are listening and watching us, what do you do at defensepriorities.org?
We're a think tank that is promoting a realist foreign policy for the United States. That is one that would be tough but restrained. So we want to sort of conserve or preserve American power rather than, in our opinion, wasting it or letting it be used in a poor way through all these wars and excessive spending. And I'm policy director, so I help kind of figure out what kind of studies and writing we want to do. We're a young, relatively small think tank that's hopefully growing.
Would you say that one of your tenants, or maybe not the tenant that you sort of utilize? What is that now in Tate's way say where America should be the policeman of the world? Where's your sort of thinking along those lines?
I don't agree with that, and I think that defense priorities' general opinion is that America should be for America, that we should be protecting American interests abroad and promoting American security. That means cooperating with allies sometimes. It doesn't mean total unilateralism, but being the policeman of the world, I think, is a job that we can't do. It's overly expensive and causes a lot of trouble. And besides its impossibility, we shouldn't really want it. It's more trouble than it's worth by a long shot. So we have enough problems to deal with without going and looking for them, basically by trying to be the world's cop.
Well, that was a great answer, because it segues right into my next question, which is basically, in terms of your article, why should the average American care whether or not we stay in Syria or leave Syria? I mean, one of the things that's always happened, it seems, that our people that we send to Washington, D.C., why is it that they always get it wrong? For example, they always say it's better to know the devil who's there than the devil you don't. So we got rid of Mubarak in Egypt, and then, we had the Muslim Brotherhood come in. And then you're destabilizing, obviously, with Bashar al-Assad in Syria or whatever. I guess there have been proponents that have said they want to take him out. Others in the government, the defense areas, have basically said, no, let's not be that hasty or whatever. But what would happen if Syria fell under the hands of Russia, or stayed Syrian, or under the hands of the Iranians? What would be the harm to national security of the United States if that occurred? Because that's the thing that you hear from the other side.
Yeah, well, I think that U.S. interests in Syria are a function of our broader interest in the region. And if we look at it that way, you can sort of say, I think more easily, that while Syria is not totally unimportant, we shouldn't be taking the risks that are necessary or are entailed by keeping troops there. That is, there's nothing that Iran can gain, or that Russia can gain even, in Syria that's going to propel them to being greater powers elsewhere, or at least very little. I don't think that it's a big prize. It's not a strategic prize, Syria. They're going to be, to the extent that the Iranians are exercising some control there, along with the Assad government, they're presiding over a sectarian tinderbox, and it's sort of trouble for them. I don't think it's kind of a winning combination. And the United States is not risking nothing by being in Syria. Far from it. We're risking potentially large wars with a number of, actually several different powers, not just Iran, but Russia, even Turkey, and the Assad government. And I think that those risks individually might be small, but when you have, you're risking several disasters at once, your overall risk is pretty large. And I think the upside now of keeping troops there is basically zero. So I think it's just a bad proposition. I think I'm not hawkish towards Iran. I think I'm very critical of the current trajectory of U.S. policy towards Iran. But what I would say is that even if you are more confrontational towards Iran than me, I don't think that Syria is the arena in which you would want to confront Iran. It's closer to their home. It's a place where they've been invited by the government, where their militias can travel freely through Iraq, where we have only 400 troops. So it seems to me sort of, even if you're looking for a fight with Iran, a stupid place to have it. So I don't think there's a lot to be gained in Syria, and we can certainly talk about the question of ISIS's revival and whatnot. But I don't think that justifies our presence there either.
I mean, honestly, Bashar Assad is a psychopathic, maniac, and what he's done to his own people is, beyond tragic and beyond words or whatever. But if we had gotten rid of Assad, or by some chance, something were to happen to Assad, what would happen to wouldn't there be an instability in Syria that at least with, him there's stability within the region, even though we may not like the man for what he's done?
Yeah, I think that this is going back to the phrase you used before, a situation where the devil might be worth not gambling on necessarily, but not trying to overthrow. So Philip Gordon, who was in the National Security Council for Obama, who was involved in a lot of the policies that the Obama administration made in Syria, said, in retrospect, he said, we didn't handle that very well, in that, we, even if the rebels we were funding, separate from the effort to defeat ISIS, but the rebels we were funding to go after Assad, had they succeeded, he said, it might have been a catastrophic success in the sense of something like Libya, where you destabilize, or even Iraq in a sense, where you destabilize the country, and people who are jihadists, who are maybe in some sense worse than Assad, take over, where nobody takes over really, and it's just this sort of Lebanon that burns in civil war for a longer period even, and things are not even, there's no improvement for Syrians, even though this admittedly brutal dictator is gone.
Well, Obama always said that, to fight ISIS, one of his quotes, I believe, was that this is going to be a generational war, that, where there's no way that we're going to be able to, wipe them out completely, or to, capture, some of the lands that they've already done. It's got to be done slowly, at a certain pace or whatever. Now you hear, for example, that, the caliphate, in terms of land mass or whatever, has literally, from whatever it was, has 98% of it, that they've lost. That's supposedly 40 to 50,000 ISIS fighters at one time. Now you're talking, in the thousands or whatever. Is that the sense that you're getting, or is that just spin that we're getting, from the people in Washington, D.C.?
No, I mean, it was.
And a follow up to that, is who do you think basically should get the credit if those things are are occurring, or have occurred?
Sure. Number one, it was 98% 6-8 months ago. Now it's 100%. All their caliphate is gone, kaput, nothing more. There's no ISIS flags flying in Syria or Iraq, and I think that it's sort of amazing the extent to which at least here in Washington, that people just disregard that and say it doesn't mean anything. It's not a meaningful victory. ISIS evidently does not have the opinion that it doesn't matter whether or not they have a physical caliphate. They tried very hard to keep their physical territory. And I think that there are real advantages for them as terrorists or insurgents to having territory in terms of their ability to organize, train, conduct attacks, and to inspire idiots from around the world to come fight for them, or to blow things up in their own country. So they had an allure, not an allure that would appeal to decent, normal people, but an allure that appealed to some disaffected people who became terrorists, that I think was a result of their success on the battlefield. It was an impressive achievement to create a territory the size of England there in the deserts of Iraq and Syria, and taking that away from them, I think, undercuts their allure and makes us a little bit safer. It's a real, meaningful victory that we shouldn't just say, well, now they're just going to become a clandestine terrorist organization. I think that the problem with staying there to go after a remnant of ISIS that's hiding or is just a terrorist organization with no home is that, number one, even with 2,000 troops, let alone 400, we can't police all of Syria. Even if the Assad regime would let us, we can't police all of Syria going after terrorists with anything close to that. And we'd need way more troops to do that. And as we know from past experience, we might be causing as much trouble as we're solving. So happily, there's a number of other people in Syria, actually almost a line of people who are lined up, queued up, as they would say in the UK, to go after ISIS. And this is relevant also to who gets credit for going after them, right? The Kurds.
The Kurds.
The Kurds who were in the YPG, which we changed the name of, so we put a few non-Kurdish Arabs in there to make it a little more non-sectarian, but it was really the Kurds who did the bulk of the fighting and the dying, at least on the Syrian side of the border, to go after ISIS. The Iraqi government, after its pathetic collapse in 2016 in Mosul, got its act together a little bit with some U.S. help and retook Mosul. They deserve some credit. And like it or not, our adversaries are also anti-ISIS and deserve some, although less credit. I mean, Assad wasn't focused on dealing with ISIS for a long time because he had problems closer to home in Damascus with the rebels of the Free Syrian Army and al-Nusra. But the Assad regime is not a fan of ISIS and did eventually go after it. And the Russians bombed them. So, and the Iranian Shiite militias hate ISIS as much as anybody. So there's a number of people who are happy to go after ISIS, and I think we don't need to be at the front of the line. And the final thing I'll say about that is leaving Syria doesn't prevent us, if need be, from doing a strike or a raid or something of that sort against ISIS if they sort of pop back up. But I think sitting there with the U.S. troop presence is not helpful in that way.
Here in the Conservative Commandos radio show, we are speaking with Benjamin H. Friedman. He's the policy director at Defense Priorities, and we're discussing about withdrawing from Syria's, or disentangling from Syria's civil war. Don't go away. We will be right back right after this short break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaikh and yours truly, RickTrader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who are listening to us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and seen on the AUN television network in California. Our guest this segment is Benjamin Friedman. He's a policy director at Defense Priorities, and we're talking about U.S. military withdrawal, disengaging from Syria's civil war. Ben, thank you for holding through that break. We always appreciate your time. Ben, let's talk about the mission, okay? When Obama, without congressional authorization, ordered U.S. forces to intervene in Syria, the mission was clear: liberate ISIS-held territory. Was it really a clear mission, or did it become muddled, Ben? Because it seems like, okay, we'll get rid of ISIS, okay, we'll get rid of Assad, okay, we'll stop the atrocities. Seemed to got a little bit mishmashed here. Am I right on that?
Absolutely. I mean, we kind of had two missions, right? Maybe one war, two missions,
right.
Where on the one hand, we were funding rebels from the Free Syrian Army. Obama always seemed sort of reluctant to do that as much as his critics would have liked, but we were funding these rebels to overthrow Assad. Their aim was to overthrow Assad and put in place a new government of Syria. So that was a regime change mission, even though we weren't heavily committed to it. We didn't use troops for that. And then we had a second mission that we committed troops and our air power to, which was to go after ISIS after they became such a virulent force back in 2014. And I think that mission succeeded. It made sense, I think, at least to a considerable degree to do that. And now that we've succeeded, I think we should end it. But we've started to, in the other mission, which the Trump administration ended 6 months into office, when we ended our CIA assistance program for the rebels, which was already quite late. We should have ended it earlier, in my view. We never should have started, in my view. That idea that we should go after Assad has kind of bled into the argument for what we're doing with the troops that were there to go after ISIS and help train the Kurds. So people will say, well, we need to stay there to, deal with Assad and to limit Russian and Iranian power, or to eject the Iranians from Syria. So there's sort of these series of missions that are getting tossed around, and we're saying we're going down to 400 troops, right? Probably there's about another several hundred at least covert operatives or something like that. But however you want to slice it, less than 1,000 Americans are not going to be able to accomplish much. It's just not that many people. It's not that much firepower. Well,
are they there to be on the front line, or are they there as in an advisory training capacity?
They're primarily in advisory training capacity now, especially now that we were doing airstrikes before. Now there's no airstrikes going on against ISIS because the ISIS caliphate is gone.
Yeah.
So we're still working with the Kurds, and we have this whole diplomatic effort to figure out how we're going to deal with the Kurds, whether or not they should cut a deal with the Assad regime to kind of go back to where they were before the war, which is what I would favor, which is say, look, the Kurds were not being slaughtered by Assad before the war. They were getting along okay. Not great, but they had a militia, the YPG, and they were living. And they can have that. I think the Assad regime would be happy to let them go back to where they were. But what they can't have, I don't think the Assad regime would tolerate a little independent Kurdish statelet. And they want us to hang around and basically write checks to them to have a little state and defend them. And I think that
they
would
always like us to write the checks. They always like the good old Uncle Sam to write those checks. Ben, let me ask you: 3 years ago, ISIS seemed to be a very scary thing. I mean, wow, they came out of nowhere. They took over places in Iraq that Americans died getting in the first place. They seem to be pretty invincible. And now, a year and a half into the Trump administration, they have really been beating back. What did Donald Trump do right that Barack Obama was doing wrong?
Well, I think this might be a somewhat disappointing answer, but not that much. He continued the policy. I think even when Trump was campaigning, he said, "I want to bomb the S out of ISIS," right? Well, okay, so he wanted to slightly intense. What that worked out to in practice was, we're going to keep doing what we're already doing a little bit harder. So we're doing airstrikes. We're going to do airstrikes a little bit more, and we did intensify airstrikes. And I think that did help accelerate the end of ISIS. It also caused a fair amount of civilian carnage, but I'm not sure that was avoidable in Mosul, in Iraq, and then in Raqqa, in Syria. But it worked. So Trump intensified what the United States had already been doing, and so I think he could have some credit for that. But it wasn't some fundamental reversal of what the Obama administration was doing. I would also say, again, I'd give them credit for saying, look, enough with the CIA training program for these feckless, or at least fractured and ineffective Free Syria Army rebels. Right. We're going to cut that off, which maybe the Obama administration would have done themselves sooner or later.
Benjamin Friedman, Policy Director of Defense Priorities. Ben, what do you want the American people to be doing? Why do you come on shows like Conservative Commandos and talk about this? What is the mission of Defense Priorities? What is the objective?
Well, we want to have a more sensible foreign policy, and President Trump, I think, has some good instincts in this regard. He's got some advisors who I think are leading him astray. So we want to create more support for policies like exiting Syria and stopping our efforts that have been going on for several administrations at the least to try to sort of manage the politics of the Middle East. Sunni versus Shia, Saudi versus Iranian, whatever, whether it's in Syria or Yemen or beyond, because we think that's been kind of a tragic mess that we don't really need to be a part of.
Well,
so we're promoting that view.
Ben, this idea of nation building, this idea of these surgical wars, I remember Vietnam, and since Vietnam we've had other similar situations. I go down to Washington, I see that wall, I see that there's 58,000 names on that wall. To me, represents 58,000 destroyed families. And I go, for what? When we look at what took place in Iraq and Egypt and Libya, where we went in there and tried to regime change, and by and large, I think we've gotten very little for it, especially in Egypt and Libya. It seems like a real mess was made there. I wonder about the wisdom of getting into these conflicts with these limited wars. We won World War II because we totally destroyed Germany. We totally destroyed Japan. We totally destroyed their ability to make war. We totally destroyed their stomach for war. And that, to me, seems to be the only way to win a war, not these surgical adventures. Am I right or wrong in thinking on that, Ben?
I generally agree with you. I think that we should have a policy that's roughly, if you're going to have war, really have war. War is deadly, brutal business. We shouldn't do it a lot. We should try to minimize how often we do it. And when we do it, we should use effective force. I do think there's some room in the sort of, Karl von Clausewitzian war is politics by another means sense for some limited war. You can't have every war, if it's going to be a servant of politics, be totally unlimited. But in general, I think we now have an idea that the use of force are like scalpels, that, we're doing very fine work. We're going to build a little democracy and keep the Turks off the Kurds back in Syria and undercut the Assad regime and force the Iranians out. And it's not a scalpel, it's a sledgehammer. So sledgehammers can do some real damage, right? They can do some good things if we need them. But thinking that we have this magical kind of laser beams, another analogy, is a big mistake, I think, that was particularly prevalent in the Obama administration, when we sort of, we stopped trying to have the big nation-building wars, but we sort of kept a lot of the same objectives and said, well, we'll just sprinkle little uses of Fords here and there and we'll accomplish all these great things. I think it's a myth that's been with us for a long time.
Benjamin Friedman, Policy Director at Defense Priorities. How can our audience follow what you guys do and learn more?
Well, we have a Twitter account at Defense Priorities, and we're online, as you said, at defensepriorities.org. And hopefully we'll be coming out with more and more stuff as we get bigger and more productive here for people to keep track of and get a sense of where we can do a little better on foreign policy.
All right. Benjamin, we want to thank you for joining us here on Conservative Commandos. Take care and God bless.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Our guest this segment was Benjamin Friedman. He's a policy director at Defense Priorities. And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Nasir Shaikh and yours truly, RickTrader.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. Buyyourtimeshare.com. That's buyyourtimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos with Dr. Right Dr. Nasir Shaikh and yours truly, RickTrader. Once again, for rebroadcast of our show, please go to our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. We have our radio show posted there, our TV show posted, a lot of great articles and a lot of terrific information. And with that, Nasir, we do have our next guest with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Thank you, Rick. We have Charles DeVore, who is the Vice President for the National Initiatives for Texas Public Policy Foundation. Charles also served as a Republican member of the California State Assembly, where he represented the 70th District, which includes portions of Orange County. He was also the Vice Chair of the Assembly Revenue and Taxation Committee, as well as Vice Chair for the Veterans Affairs Committee. He also served on the Budget Committee and was a member of the Joint Legislative Audit Committee as well. Chuck, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, great. Well, we want to get into your article that's on Forbes.com. Trump's economy keeps humming, manufacturing adding more jobs in government, reversing the Obama trend. But before we get into that, what is going on for our listening audience and our viewing audience out there? What are you currently doing? What does the National Initiatives for the Texas Public Policy Foundation do?
Well, the Texas Public Policy Foundation, based in Austin, Texas, is America's largest state-based free market think tank. We have about 110 employees, mostly in Texas, but also around the country. We've established a presence in Washington, D.C. in the last year. We aim to bring Texas values, the values of the original founding of this nation based on free market principles in the Constitution, limited government, to Washington, D.C., kind of trying to bring Texas inside the Beltway, if you will. And what National Initiatives does is it's a kind of an umbrella within the foundation that deals with things like criminal justice reform, our Right on Crime initiative. We had some measure of involvement with the First Step Act signed by President Trump at the end of last year, along with things like, promoting traditional fossil fuels as a effective and cost-effective way of bringing energy to this nation and around the country, and things like our new Right on Work initiative, which seeks to improve occupational licensing as well as vocational education around the country. So it's kind of a wide range of things that basically refers to things that we get involved in that are outside of Texas, not just merely within the Lone Star State.
So literally, from a Google satellite picture, you must be the lone strawberry in that blueberry in Austin, then, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's I think former Governor Perry described us as the blueberry within the tomato soup of Texas. So yes, that's the way it is in Austin.
if we could take our lead from Texas, as it seems the leftists do take the lead from California, I think this country would be a whole lot better.
I would agree with you on that.
All right, well, let's get to the this humming of this economy, which everybody on the left, what I call the alt-left media, the left-stream media, the Democratic state-controlled media, continues to basically try to downplay all the time. Right. Give us an idea as to why should we be happy? What's going on out there?
Well, the evidence is very interesting because when you talk about the economy, of course, the left always likes to talk about President Obama's record, noting the recovery from a very, very deep recession. A historically deep recession was the Great Recession. And of course, there's always a recovery after recession. That's how you mark the end of a recession. So the key is you want to compare like periods to like periods. So in the case of the Trump economy, I think it is a more apt comparison to compare the late stages of the recovery under the last president with the current time period under the new president. And so what I've been doing over the last year is comparing the same period of time under President Trump with the prior period of time, again, exact same months under President Obama, because both of these are at the late stages of a recovery. And what you see is the total number of jobs, the total number of private sector jobs are about the same. For example, in the most recent period, the last 27 months under Trump versus the last 27 months under Obama, they're about the same. But where you see a huge difference is within the manufacturing sector. And here, I think, is very important because not everybody can work for Google or Amazon. Manufacturing is very important to provide a diverse set of jobs for individuals and to be able to make the stuff that an economy needs, that a nation needs. And here's where you see a big difference. And further, you see the inflection point really start the very month that Trump was elected, that improbable victory, improbable at least for the pundits. And you see an immediate increase in manufacturing jobs starting in November of 2016. And I think that was because people expected regulatory relief and they expected tax relief, and that's what they got.
Well, you state also that there's sort of been a flip-flop where in the Trump economy, the more focus is on the private sector, whereas in the Obama, what I call the Obama monarchy, there was a thing in terms of where the slant was obviously in the bureaucracy and the number of jobs that it gained, and you very well point out how those numbers have changed. Would I be correct in using an analogy that if you go back to the Kennedy administration when President Kennedy said that, go to the Peace Corps, become a bureaucrat, and that sort of changed when Ronald Reagan came basically and, sort of flipped that thing around. Do you sort of see that same type of, analogy?
Well, yes, with the one proviso that by today's standards, Kennedy would be a hardcore conservative by today's Democratic standards. Remember, he campaigned on tax cuts and stated very clearly that we needed to get the economy moving by cutting taxes so that businesses would create jobs. So he got that part right. So, yeah, what you see, for example, with the first 27 months of the Trump administration compared to the last 27 months of the Obama administration, you see the manufacturing jobs are growing more than 3 times as great under Trump than they did under Obama. And conversely, if you compare government jobs, the growth rate of government jobs, you'll see that government jobs were increasing about double the rate under Obama as they are under Trump in the 27-month comparison. And so I think this is fascinating. Basically, you had, in the last 27 months under Obama, you had more government jobs being created than manufacturing jobs, and that is flipped under Trump, where you have more manufacturing jobs created than government jobs. And I think that's healthy and sustainable.
Give us an idea as to how devastating is it? We always hear, because we never see the regulations unless you're a business owner. But for the average person that's out there, give us a sense of how damaging are these regulations? I mean, how much of a pinning effect do they have, a yoke around the throats of not only small business, but, large business as well?
Well, that's a great question. Of course, you have both federal and state regulations. And so at the federal level, there's a group, I believe it's the Competitive Enterprise Institute, that publishes a yearly publication called the 10,000 Commandments, because, of course, 10 commandments aren't good enough for the government. You need 10,000. And what they're referring to is the Federal Register. And in the Federal Register, where government regulations are published, you have, 70, 80,000 pages a year published in the Federal Register. And some of these regulations cost hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. For example, the Clean Power Plan under President Obama never fully went into effect, but you had companies that were expecting that it would come into effect. And as a result, for example, they retired coal plants years earlier than the coal plants would have been phased out based on the capital that was, the value that was still left in those coal plants. And so what you find with federal regulations is the greater impact is on the smaller, more independent businesses, because large multinational firms employ legions of tax attorneys and compliance specialists whose sole job it is to comply with these federal regulations and keep these companies out of trouble. It's the medium to small size companies then that have the greater exposure to these rules that we're talking about a hit on the economy somewhere north of $1 trillion a year. And to put that into perspective, it is about the same amount of money as collected by the federal government for both individual and corporate income taxes. That's the effect that federal regulations have.
Interesting.
Interesting, very interesting. One of the other things I wanted to ask you, sir, was, in this day and age, I wish it would just be as simple as we could say, what's happening to the American jobs, and, what are the numbers out there? But in political theater, in political parlance, you've got to basically, because it is perception out there, you've got to sort of segmentize, the different groups. So give us a sense as to what has the Trump economy meant, let's say, for Black Americans, for Latino Americans, for Asian Americans, also for, those Americans that sort of were displaced from some of their, manufacturing jobs. What's happening in that realm?
Well, you're seeing the labor market continue to tighten up. So again, things were going in the right direction under Obama. However, by historic standards, it was the weakest recovery from a recession in modern history, probably going back more than 100 years. And so, yes, things were getting better. But now, as the labor market continues to tighten, you see people coming into the labor market who had given up hope. You see record low unemployment for African Americans and for Hispanic Americans and for women as well. And so the numbers are trending very strongly. You're having people getting their opportunities for the first time in many cases. And this, I think, will have follow-on beneficial effects where you may see more family creation. You may see lower out-of-wedlock birth because people can afford to get married. You may see then, as a result from that, higher high school graduation rates in the future, lower crime rates. This has an interesting virtuous circle that will occur that can only have positive effects down the line if it can be sustained. And so I'm very hopeful that this economy is going to be has some very beneficial long-term effects for the American people.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Charles DeVore. He's the Vice President for National Initiatives for the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Chuck, we got to take a quick break. Could you stay on with us for just a few moments, please?
I'd be delighted to.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Dr. Wright, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, RickTrader. Don't go away. We'll be back with more and the Trump economy right after this break with our guest, Chuck DeVore.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with the Doctor for the Republic, Dr. Nasir Shaikh, and yours truly, RickTrader. And I want to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C. Yes, we are everywhere. We are everywhere. Our guest this segment is Chuck DeVore. He's the Vice President for National Initiatives for the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Chuck, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Hey, my pleasure.
You know, Chuck, it's been a while since you've been on our show, and I forgot what a great speaking voice you have. I think I'm going to ask Santa Claus for your voice for Christmas. But
it's a great voice for radio.
Not a bad face either. Not a
bad
face
that's right.
for
That's
television
right.
either. You know, Chuck, the Trump economy. I'm so reminded of November 2016. The day before the election, all the pundits, at least the pundits on the left, saying, well, Hillary's going to win. It's going to be a landslide. But if Trump gets in, it's going to be a disaster for the stock market. It's going to be a disaster for the economy. Chuck, what happened to all the apologies? I haven't heard their apologies yet for being so wrong. Have you?
Well, no, I haven't. Although I think they'll continue to say, just wait till tomorrow. Just wait till these tariffs take effect or something terrible happens. You mark my words, something bad's going to happen. Look, you know, the fact is that a lot of economic decisions are based on anticipation of what will happen. And what I find fascinating when you look at these manufacturing numbers, which languished very slowly in the last couple of years of the Obama administration because they didn't have regulatory certainty. They had all these regulations that were being proposed in advance that could shut down or discourage this or that. And they knew that when President Trump got elected, that was all going to change. And so what you see with the manufacturing numbers is you see this inflection point where they're relatively flat until November of 2016, and then boom, they start to jump up because people making decisions about how to invest and what to hire, you know, how many people we're going to hire, are we going to put more machinery, are we going to build a new factory? Those decisions had more clarity and certainty after November 2016. And so you start to see this increase in manufacturing take place immediately. Now, in recent months, the last couple, 2 or 3 months, that has slowed down. And perhaps what we're beginning to see there is a little uncertainty about the trade friction, mainly with China, right? This is the world's second biggest economy. It's America's biggest trading partner. And for years, they've gotten away with cheating on these trade agreements, stealing our intellectual property, erecting non-tariff barriers that make it very difficult for Americans to sell their products into China. And they are now being called on that. And yes, there does seem to be some effect as the market is a little uncertain about this. But I would argue that if these issues can be successfully resolved in America's favor and to have actual fair and reciprocal trade, it wouldn't surprise me at all if we begin to see a reinvigoration of these employment numbers as well as the GDP.
Chuck, a few months ago, you wrote an article, The Trump Manufacturing Jobs Boom 10 Times Obama's Over 21 Months. As I said, that was some time ago. Since then, other reports have come out that it might be down to 3 times now. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is the change in Congress, swinging from Republican control to Democrat control. Might have, you talked about tariffs maybe having an effect, but was the switch in Congress anything to do? Did the switch in Congress have anything to do with it?
Well, it likely couldn't help because, of course, you have now half of the legislature, the national legislature, controlled by a party that wants pretty large tax increases. They want to repeal the historic tax cuts and reforms signed into law by President Trump in December of 2017. In fact, I find it interesting that among the candidates for president for the Democratic nomination, you've had in recent weeks various proposals totaling about $10 trillion in new taxes. Some of this, of course, associated with the Green New Deal. Some of it, for example, a value-added tax based on what we see in Europe. And of course, with the bigger tax increases comes proposals for massive increases in social welfare spending. So we're not talking about increasing taxes to balance the budget. We're talking about taxes to increase the size of government. So certainly that can't help when you look at perhaps the slowdown in the last few months. I think as well some of the uncertainty over this constant talk about impeachment. You know, people who make business decisions do not like uncertainty. And we have more uncertainty.
Neither does the American people.
Right. Yeah, we have more uncertainty now.
Right. Chuck DeVore, is it still the economy stupid? Looking towards 2020, is it still the economy stupid?
I think all things being equal, yes, it is. And if the American public thinks that things are going better than they did before and they have greater hope about the future, then that certainly augurs well for the president's reelection. And I think as well, you're seeing this, especially at the state level. One of the interesting side effects of that great tax reform that the president signed in December 2017 was the limitation of your state and local tax deductions for each filing household to $10,000. And what this essentially did, and by the way, we've had this in our tax code probably for 80 years, and what this did was subsidize states and local governments that have high taxes, because for people who itemize their income taxes, roughly a third of filers, it allowed them to deduct what they paid in state and local taxes. So when that was capped at $10,000, it had the same net effect of changing the tax code in all 50 states at once. And what I found, and I've been studying this every month, what I found was that immediately after it was signed, you started to see a divergence in the number of employees added in the low tax states versus the high tax states. In fact, today we're now a little more than a year after that was signed. In the 27 low tax states versus the 23 high tax states, the job formation, private sector job formation in those 27 states like Texas and Florida is 80% higher than in the high tax states like California and New York.
That is incredible. That is incredible. Chuck, do you have time for just one more question for me?
Sure.
Barack Obama said, and you have in one of your articles, that he famously said that some manufacturing jobs, quote, are just not coming back. He went on to mock then candidate Trump by saying he would need a magic wand to make good on his manufacturing promises. But, you know, it was real funny, Chuck, that, maybe about 6 months ago, Barack Obama came out and said, well, he got all this started. This boom in our economy is thanks to Barack Obama. I mean, what would you say to Barack Obama at this point?
Well, there was a recovery, as there always is, from deep recessions. His recovery was one among the weakest in history because of this regulatory uncertainty. People didn't know what the rules were going to be from one day to the next. And as a result, they sat on their money. They didn't invest it. Then comes President Trump. You get regulatory certainty. People expect that there'll be less regulations. In fact, this administration has eliminated far more old regulations than they've created new ones. That's virtually unprecedented in American history. And then you get tax reform. And one of the huge things about tax reform was that it addressed that we had the second highest corporate tax rate in the developed world. They scaled that way back, and they put a one-time tax on money being repatriated back to America from these countries where that money was held overseas. We're talking more than $1 trillion. And a lot of that has come back to American shores, and it's created jobs, it's created new plants and equipment. And what we're seeing is not a magic wand, but we're seeing sound economic policy that puts America first.
I agree with that. It's not the man. It's not Barack Obama. It's not Donald Trump. But it was Barack Obama's policies versus Donald Trump's policies. And we can certainly see the reaction to that over the last year and a half of Trump administration. Chuck DeVore. Chuck DeVore. Pacific Legal Foundation. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work and read your articles and keep up with the Texas.
Yeah, there you go.
Cut my tongue out. We'd love to have
both
organizations.
My friends at PLF are wonderful people, so it's okay that you mentioned PLF. We're at texaspolicy.com. That's texaspolicy.com. We're America's largest state-based free market think tank based in Austin, Texas.
And how can people read your articles?
Well, I have a lot of my articles on my Forbes column, and I also appear in publications like The Federalist and The Washington Examiner and The Daily Caller and FoxNews.com as well.
All right. Chuck, thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos. Take care and God bless.
My pleasure.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving, and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours, free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them, Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle. Yes, that's Sharron Angle. And yours truly, RickTrader. Want to give a shout out to the folks who are listening to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and are watching us on the AUN television network in San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, and a bunch of other places in Northern California. And Sharron, our next guest is with us. The honor of the introduction is yours.
It is an honor and a pleasure for me to introduce Mark Hancock, Chief Executive Officer of Trail Life USA. Mark began his career founding a national advertising agency and running it for 15 years. His conversion to Christ led him into ministry as a youth and college pastor, associate pastor, homeless ministry director, and global event director for an international ministry, organizing events on 5 continents. He holds 2 master's degrees in the mental health counseling field, having spent a number of years in private practice, and has taught at secular and Christian colleges. Mark, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you talk about the National Guard banning Trail Life USA from a tour because of religious beliefs. Now, you didn't write this article, but you, above all people, probably understand what this whole issue is about. Talk to us first about the National Guard, really? I thought that was open to every American who wanted to tour their facilities. I've even been begged to go tour because they love to make sure that Americans know what the National Guard does for us. It's great public relations. Being in advertising, you know that too. What happened here?
Yeah, you would think it would be a no-brainer that an organization like Trail Life USA, that's raising courageous young men, that is concentrating on building men of character, that the doors would be flung wide open. But this troop ran into a challenge, and just thankfully, when it went up to the proper folks in line there, they realized that they had made a mistake, and they reversed things. But for our boys to have to go through that time of feeling, why would I not be welcome on this base? That was sad. But they also got to see the First Amendment work. They stood up. This local troop stood up for what it was that they knew was right, and they pushed back against being told that they weren't welcome there. They said, no, we should be welcome in this place. And they found out that if you stand up for your rights, and you've got the First Amendment behind you, you should be in pretty good shape.
Well, I think it was a great lesson for them, but the sad part is that they also met firsthand what persecution is looking like in these United States. We as Christians have been feeling a bit of a press here for the last 10 to 15 years now, that we're not welcome. Why were the Trail Life guys not welcome at the National Guard? What was their excuse for turning them away?
Well, when we dug deeper into what their statement finally said is that when they realized that, we don't know if it was because we don't allow girls in our organization or because we're a biblical Christian organization, but they said that they have different standards than we do as far as their membership. And what they found out is that doesn't matter. They can have their own standards, we can have our own standards, but that doesn't mean that we're not allowed there. And so somebody interpreted us as in our stance in terms of our membership standards as being different from them, and so therefore we weren't allowed. And they just needed to understand, no, you can have your standards that allow women in your organization, but an organization that's focused on boys, that specifically is boy focused because boys need that in this world today, that shouldn't exclude us from being able to attend. So when you link that, it's ultimately a religious connection. And that's the first thing we heard that was for the religious basis. And so I guess our traditional definition of family and our traditional definition of human sexuality, they interpret that as not being in line with the military and thought that excluded us.
Oh my goodness. This is very tiresome for most of us, this political correctness, as well as this being labeled for holding, as you said, traditional, not only traditional family, traditional Christian, but traditional constitutional values. And now all of those are the things that it sounds like Trail Life USA stands for.
Well, we're a young organization. We've been around about 5 years, so we are kind of created in this, and that we're forged in these cultural fires. And so we understand who we are. We know who we are. We're unapologetically Christian, and then we're also unapologetically boy-focused. We think that boys and girls are different. Now, I know that's a radical thought today, Sharron, but we actually believe that boys and girls are different. And we understand psychologically, biologically, there's so many just physical differences between boys and girls that give them different types of strengths. And because we're focused on that, we recognize that's going to make us sort of an outlier in this current cultural battle that we're in right now. But we're up for that. We believe strongly enough that these things that we've always believed. You ask any engaged teacher or any engaged parent if boys and girls are different, they're going to tell you yes. But in today's culture, that seems to have been suddenly unpopular. But we know that we're confident in who it is we are, and we're not willing to bend there. As you know, the Boy Scouts now allows girls, and we think Boy Scouts was a wonderful organization. 109 years of giving us presidents and senators and leaders and astronauts, but they suddenly decided that there was nothing magic about that formula for boys, and let's let girls in too. We just don't think that was very wise. So Trail Life USA was started. Now we've got almost 28,000 members in 50 states and over 800 churches across the country and parents are flocking to us because people understand that boys and girls are different and they need their own environment in order to excel. We think boys and girls deserve programs that are specifically aimed at their maturation, particularly in terms of character growth and leadership opportunities that we offer.
And are you finding that those are troops that once were Boy Scout troops and now they are saying, no, we want to get back to what traditionally the Boy Scouts did stand for, and that's why they're joining you?
Well, it's been interesting to watch that. And initially, on our first day, we had 10,000 members. And about half of those were formerly Boy Scout troops that moved over because they just couldn't go along with the membership standards that the Boy Scouts were taking on. And then we went through a period of time where we're seeing more and more troops starting. That church had never chartered a Boy Scout troop before in its history. But they saw Trail Life and they say, yeah, this is something we can do because of the unapologetically Christian focus, because of the way that we vet our adult leaders, and because of the intensive background checks that we do and everything we do to make it a safe environment. Churches that never chartered a Boy Scout troop started chartering our troop. And so then we went to the side where it was primarily non-Boy Scout troops. And then when they opened up to girls, again, we saw a surge of troops that were formerly Boy Scout troops saying, no, we just don't think that's a good idea. We know boys. We've been doing this for a while, and we think it's going to change the dynamic to open up the troop to girls and boys. And so then we saw another influx of Boy Scout troops heading our way. But we're thrilled that we have so many churches and partners that never had an outdoor adventure organization for boys. that are charting trail life troops. So there's boys who are being exposed to adventure in the outdoors in a great environment where they're being mentored and discipled by Christian men who are concerned about their growth and are devoting their lives to helping them grow in terms of character and leadership.
Well, and I think that you have pointed out some really interesting facts about the Boy Scouts. First, they were pressured out of being unapologetically Christian, and they began to just lay that kind of at the side. And then, again, they were pressured by what I can only say are militant LGBTQ groups. And then finally, they've been pressured by feminists. And they, at each turn, have just succumbed to that pressure. What makes Trail Life USA impervious to that kind of pressure? Or are you feeling it? And how do you keep from backing down, backing away from those things that the Boy Scouts, obviously they didn't want to do it. They have been to court. They've been battling this for years. And at the end, they just said, we give.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question, and we're asked that a lot in the beginning because we had so many people who felt that they had been betrayed by the Boy Scouts, and they said, "How are you going to keep from doing this?" Well, like I said, we were forged in the fires of this battle, so we understood how to structure ourselves so that we are not either tempted or we're not subject to the same things the Boy Scouts were subject to. So the way that we structure ourselves financially. Our entire organization is based on, we run the organization off of member fees and off of store sales, and that's it. We have a lot of donations, we have a lot of donors, but there's no strings attached to that money, and none of that money goes to run the organization. It goes to do pilot programs or advancing new things. I'm sitting at our 127-acre complex south of Greenville, South Carolina, totally paid for, debt-free. We have no debt in the organization, so we don't have the financial pressures that the Boy Scouts did when they took on very large projects and no longer, they didn't answer any longer to the members. They started to answer to the corporate money. So that caused some of that. So we structure ourselves so that we don't do that. Plus, the only reason we have to exist is that we do provide our Christ-centered, boy-focused objective. If we took those away, there's no reason for us to be around. So we would say, if you're not interested in Christ-centered, you're not interested in boy-focused, you should join the Boy Scouts. They've been around a lot longer, and there's some things that they got down pretty good. We're still a growing organization. But if you want the Christ-centered difference and you want the specific, unapologetic boy focus and growing boys, then Trail Life is the place to be. And people are embracing that. And we're growing at about 20% pace every year just because of that commitment. So legally, we're structured in terms of who we are at our core. We're structured to be that way. None of us is part of this because we just wanted to do something like Boy Scouts. We are very unlike Boy Scouts in two very key ways. And if we were to let go of those things, there would be no reason for us to exist. So we will always be Christ-centered, and we'll always be unapologetically Christian. Now, an interesting thing, when the Boy Scouts changed their membership standards, they went to the troops and said, "Are you interested in this change?" And the troops said overwhelmingly no. But it was the higher-ups who overrode the locals and changed the membership standards against their members because they're more interested in where the money was coming from. Our bylaws are written such that if there's any membership standard change, 80% of our troops have to vote for that change to take place. 80% have to vote. So there's a vote in each one of our troops, or any of our major bylaws, from our membership standards to our mission, to our motto, to our oath, to our statement of faith, our statement of purity and values. Any of those things, for any of those things to change, 80% of the troops would have to vote for that change to happen. Now, if you joined us because we were different because of those things, you're not going to decide to vote to change those things. So we think that we've provided the type of security. If Boy Scouts had been set up that way, they never would have been able to make those changes for their members because their members didn't want those changes. But we are set up so that we're decentralized in those key decision-making roles, and those votes exist out in our individual troops, not in some kind of boardroom somewhere. Where men are abandoning their principles or convictions.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of organizations in the United States that could take a leaf from your book and really understand how to structure an independent group that is not going to be pressured by the culture. We have to take a break right now. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio, AM, FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on our TV show on the AUN TV network. We've been talking with Mark Hancock, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Trail Life USA, about persecution by the National Guard, who banned a USA troop from taking a tour on their religious beliefs. We'll be right back after this message.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm RickTrader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle, and our guest is Mark Hancock. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Trail Life USA, and we're talking about a National Guard facility in Pennsylvania refused to allow a Trail Life USA scouting troop tour their facility because of the group's religious affiliation. Fort Indiantown Gap denied access to the base, which is open to other civic, fraternal, and youth organizations for youth activities, constitutes viewpoint discrimination. Mark, thank you for holding through that break. And did you ever find out who exactly made this decision to stop the Trail Life USA troop from entering Fort Indiantown Gap?
Yeah, I'm sure that somewhere in the letters that went back and forth between attorneys that it was specifically laid out who was doing those who was making those decisions wrongly. And our understanding is that it was at a lower level, and once they were educated to the rights that we have, then that decision was reversed.
Well, you got help from our friends at the First Liberty Institute. We've had their speakers on here many, many times. You know, Mark, I like to look for silver clouds around every or silver linings around every cloud. What kind of feedback has Trail Life USA gotten since this little brush up with the National Guard?
Well, a lot of people are interested in how this happened, and they're interested in obviously how to handle oneself in such cases. And we're always modeling for young men how to behave. And I think that the fact that we didn't get strident in our response, that we handled it calmly, that we worked with First Liberty and those folks. In fact, it was the local troop that actually initiated that legal part. Was and I just think it was walked out in real integrity and showing character. And so I think there's been some great lessons for the boys in the program, and I think that people understand that Trail Life USA, we're going to stand for what's right, and we're going to do it in a measured fashion and the way that we used to do things, and we're going to be careful to make sure that we're not denied our rights.
All right, good for you guys. Good for anyone that stands up for their rights. Boy Scouts of America, from what we understand, has been in trouble, both financially and morally. Has there been any other incidents of Trail Life USA where they have been discriminated against?
Not any that we know of. We'll hear little anecdotal things from boys who go into a restaurant and have some comments made about them because of who it is that they're representing. But I think that, Sharron was saying that's sort of the temperature of this culture, and something that as believers, we may just see more and more of. But no, there has been a lot. But you also have to remember that we're still relatively small. 28,000 members may seem like a lot in 5 years, but when you compare that to a 109-year-old organization like Boy Scouts with over 2 million members now, and we're still relatively small. So maybe we're flying under that radar, but we're making quite a difference in the 800 troops that are across this country in terms of growing boys in character and leadership and outdoor adventure opportunities.
Boy Scouts USA, as I said, has been under attack and for letting girls in. They had problems with gay leaders. How can you assure that that type of immorality never happens with Trail Life USA?
Well, we have a very clear statement of faith, and all of our adult members, 8,000 of them across the country, volunteer adult members, sign that statement of faith and agree to abide by it. They also sign our statement of values, which talks about things like purity and service and integrity and stewardship. It defines marriage as one man and one woman. So we have these things built into it where our leaders are agreeing that this is they understand this is the type of program that they're entering. Now, what we do interesting, Rick, is that boys of any faith or of no faith at all are welcome to join Trail Life USA. Our discriminating part, if I can use that word, is when they become adults. We do require that the adults are criminal background checked, that they sign a statement of faith, that they have personal references in the troop from the church that the troop is chartered from, that they complete child safety youth protection training every 2 years. So on the adult levels, we have some real tight restrictions because we want the right men and women in the program, pouring into these boys' lives. And but any boy of any religious background or no background at all is welcome to join Trail Life USA. So we secure it by securing the adults who are in the program, making sure that they agree with our founding principles.
Mm-hmm. What type of programs do you have open for boys? When I was a kid and I participated in Boy Scouts, we did hikes, we did a bunch of activities. It was a lot of fun. What type of activities does Trail Life USA have for their members?
Oh my goodness, it's so varied across the country. We're all up in Alaska and down to Hawaii and everywhere. What troops can do on a local basis, the opportunities they can find. But it's everything that you can imagine, from the hiking and the camping to the rock climbing, to the zip lining, to the ocean adventures, to snow camping, to we have a very active shooting sports program.
Shooting? You mean you let them use guns?
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh!
Speaking of amendments, that's another one. So yeah, we have very robust masculine program that of course comes along with a health and safety guide that helps keep the adventure safe. But we're finding that boys are drawn to the adventure, and parents are drawn to the character and the leadership thing that we're building in boys. You know, Rick, Sharon, so many times today we're giving out participation trophies to kids.
Yeah.
And we feel like we've created a generation of what I call unproductive narcissists. They're unproductive because we haven't really required anything of them, and they're narcissists because they haven't had a chance to fail. And so we put boys in situations where they do difficult things and they accomplish them. And over again, we hear stories of young men who go on maybe a 50-mile hike with their troop. They've never done anything like that before, and they think they're going to die 2 days into it. But they work at it and they hang in there and they don't quit, and they have the encouragement of the troops and that leaders, and they do hard things. And boys just don't get many chances to do hard things today. And they're so dismissed in our culture. You know, they're twice as likely to be declared special education, 3 times more likely to be declared ADHD than girls. And boys need a program that's designed for them, for the special way that they learn, for the way that they're designed. They love risk and competition. And so we give boys opportunities for risk and competition. You take 2 6-year-old boys who come up to you and ask you if they can go get a drink of water. When you say yes, you have just fired the starting pistol. And those boys are going to run into that water fountain because boys love risk and competition.
Hey, Mark, we're coming up against the heartbreak. I would love to know more about Trail Life USA. But for our listeners out there who are like me and like more information, tell us where we could go.
Sure. The website is traillifeusa.com. traillifeusa.com, 2 L's in the middle, Trail Life. And there's information there on how you can connect with the organization. There's an interactive map. You can put in your zip code and find troops that are nearby. And you can find out how to start a troop there, too, if you don't have a troop active in your area.
Mark Hancock, it sounds great. And I'm so glad we could have you here on Conservative Commandos radio show. Mark, one more time, give out that website, please.
traillifeusa.com.
Mark Hancock, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you so much.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, RickTrader. Don't go away. Sharron and I will be back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to buyyourtimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Serious allegations of voter fraud. The claims raising questions about the
Commerce Secretary Ron Brown and 32 others were on a military plane that crashed today in a violent storm. There are no known survivors at this time.
The U.S. Army was funded by the evil entity.
Saw voter fraud with my own eyes.
To say that it doesn't exist is an outright lie.
The process is rigged.
People die and fall for the right to vote. It's it's too brutal.
So it's incredibly important now that we draw a line and say, not on our watch.
But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.